Well, we've already dealt with Megxit, which has now morphed into Megxile, according to the UK tabloids today. We're all over Brexit. But get ready for Rexit, a campaign here to create a new superstate in regional New South Wales and Victoria. Not only is there a movement to see WA break away from the rest of Australia, which we've covered, these regional areas are campaigning to split from city-centric state governments. It's been the frequent and risk-averse COVID border policies that have pushed this along. And joining us now is one of the protagonists, Victorian Liberal Democrat Tim Quilty. Tim, welcome to the show. I've got you. Regional Australia, I tell you what, it got terribly burnt during the pandemic last year, didn't it?
It was awful. And the way they locked the states down for a virus which was almost entirely in the cities, the way they closed the borders Northern Victoria, obviously, my electorate runs along the Murray River. And just by closing the borders, they completely just disrupted our local economies. On the first day that New South Wales closed the border, there were 10,000 people just from around Albury Wodonga who couldn't get to work that day because our economies are intertwined with each other and have nothing to do with the city. It's been a very tough year in the regions.
You see, what the city-centric premiers don't understand, and this is more connected to Daniel Andrews, is that by the mere space that you have in the bush, there is a social distancing that is part of how people live. They don't need to be forced to distance in the possibility that a COVID virus may spread through a country town.
Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, they talk about the RO of how the virus spreads. The RO in regional areas is much lower. If you're living in a little town, you don't get on crowded buses or public transport. You don't go to work in office towers. Everybody's spread out all the time. And if the virus ever got here, it would spread much more slowly and be much easier to contain. We just didn't need to do what we did.
Yeah, you could ring it very quickly and get rid of it. The superstate, what towns are we talking about that may come together as part of your superstate?
So the final boundaries are unclear yet. We did a report from the Victorian Public Budget Office, the Parliamentary Budget Office, contained large areas which included Bendigo, Ballarat, Albury Wodonga, Shepperton, Mildura, Wagga, Griffith, Bathurst. But it could run as far as Broken Hill. It could run as far as the Victorian west coast, and it might even take in the southeast coast of New South Wales and east coast of Victoria. It just depends how many people want to be in. So we could be talking up to 2 million people. The report model was about 1.4 million. But we're not talking about a little state or an empty state. We're talking about a definite economic entity that could support itself.
So it would need a referendum, would it not? And legally, how do you make that happen?
So the actual mechanism for it, it's in the Australian Constitution. And when they wrote the Constitution, they expected us to make more states. I reckon those guys would be pretty shocked, and they were all guys then, if they look back and looked at us now and realised that we didn't make any more states. So the actual process is the state that's letting the land go has to vote on it in the Parliament, and the federal Parliament has to vote to make a new state. And then that's as simple as that. We have a new state. As a matter of practice, we plan to hold a plebiscite, and we're aiming to do that.
I've got to leave it there, Tim Quilty. It's a very exciting proposition, but thank you very much for that. That is all I've got time for tonight.